what's going on, everybody? It's Rich Perez welcoming you back into another dose of the rundown. We got a special guest in the building with us today. Coach over at the Empire Wrestling Club, a very interesting person. A lot of the wrestling fan base as a whole might not know who he is, but if you're a real wrestling insider, you definitely know who this young man is. Again, this is coach of the Empire Wrestling Club, Khaled Dassan. I got that right?
Yeah, that's fine. It's good. Everyone mixes it up a little bit. Everyone has their own mix, but it's all good.
Yeah, all right, cool. Great to have you on, man. Great to have you on. How you doing?
Thanks for having me. Doing well. Just got back from a practice, so everything's good.
That's good to hear. It's good to hear.
Yeah.
So you're a relatively young guy coaching some real studs right now. A lot of people your age are probably still going through college and things like that. You decided to take a different path, and it's really working out for you. Before we get into that specifically, tell me a little bit about yourself. How exactly did you get into wrestling? What was your introduction to it?
So I've actually been training like the martial arts and the not so much wrestling, but I would say the martial arts and the jiu-jitsu, and since I was 8, my uncle owns MMA gym in Yonkers, the Animals MMA, and I was actually kind of forced into wrestling. I was really good at jiu-jitsu, and then for a teenage level at least. And, I was winning some adult brackets at like the age of 13 and 14. And then, he said, if you really want to reach the next level, him and this guy named Jimmy Santiago and Sam said, you have to wrestle. And they basically said, you have to do it. It's something that's mandatory. I said, okay. So, I went out and did it. I brought a couple friends with me. And, that's how it started. I was almost forced into it. We started late 9th grade year, started late into the season because I didn't know when the season started. I found out it had started and started late 9th grade year, and then just kind of took off.
Yeah. I think that's interesting too, because every time you see, especially with the MMA fighters, really in the UFC, a lot of the UFC fighters that are holding the belts all have a wrestling background. I know when I was in high school, we'd always have some guys coming out for the team, and the reason that they were coming out was because they wanted to get into MMA. So it's always great to have that background. For you, what led to you getting into mixed martial arts? Was that just something you wanted? Mixed martial arts, excuse me. Was that something that you just wanted to do yourself, or was that like a family thing at all?
I've always wanted to do it. Yeah, no matter, I was gonna find my way in there one way or another. But I was gonna find my way into the gym. You know what I mean? I love the martial arts. I was watching the UFCs and all the other craziness, and I said I need to get in there. This stuff is for me.
Yeah, that's great, man. It's great. So you come into wrestling. You say freshman year.
Yeah, late freshman year. Yeah, me and my buddy. You might know. Remember a kid named Justin Lopez, wrestled for Penn State a little bit.
Yes.
He came. I think he did a couple camps with Tony and stuff. So me and him, I kind of forced him to do it too. So it was like we had a little bit of a squad there going.
Yeah, it's nice, man. I knew about Justin when he was still in high school too. He was making some noise at the state tournament as well.
Yeah, he was good, man. He I think he played both years. He went up to the state tournament. He was tough.
Yeah. So that first year, I mean, you're coming in 9th grade, really, especially in New York too. You're competing against a lot of guys that have been doing this for a very long time. What was the transition like for you?
Well, going from getting your hand raised a decent amount to not, it wasn't as fun, but it was definitely motivating. It was like I had to figure out a way to get to get my hand raised eventually, and it was just like I was just squirming all over the mat with, it was a mix between jiu-jitsu and the wrestling, and my coach was like, you can't do this stuff, you can't do certain stuff, and it was hard to transition. It wasn't an easy transition, honestly, but then you have to be all in on one or the other, and then after my sophomore year, luckily my coach was, a lot of the coaches in the area, they kind of have an ego and they don't want to send their kids to clubs. But luckily, my coach said, because I lost a couple of matches I didn't really want to lose. My sophomore year I had a lot better year, and I know we'll get into that. But then my coach was like, you have to, if you want to be great at this, you have to go train with John and Anthony Sora John Deagle and Anthony Torra at Empire. Well, at the time it was Iowa style, and I made it my mission to get up there, and and that's when I started at the club basically. But I'm sure we'll get to that another time. Just sidetracking, yeah.
Yeah, most definitely, most definitely. We can get to that right now because
Yeah.
obviously there's always that transition when you're trying to get better. Like me, because I can definitely relate to that a little bit. I had been wrestling since I was a kid, but I had never taken it too seriously up until I had gotten to high school, and that's when I started going to things like you're upstate, so you mentioned Empire out in Long Island at the time. We had Razor Wrestling Club with the Patch Bitches and Cuffy and those guys were running it at the time. So I was going over there and training with TJ Hill too. So I know what it's like to have to put in that work and things like that. What was that like for you when you're trying to work to get your hand raised more? What was the work like going?
I just stopped. I had to stop. I had to choose one or the other. I said to myself, a coach a while back told me, is like, you got to look at your life in bricks. Wrestling's a short. There's a couple bricks in your life. You can do jiu-jitsu for the rest of your life. You can't do wrestling for the rest of your life. So, I really took that in, and I said, you know what, I have to do the wrestling. I said, I have to go up there. I have to do what my coach Pete Volpone told me. You got to get up to John's. And I said to him, okay, I'm gonna do it. So as soon as my sophomore year ended, my sophomore season ended, I got up there, and I went from winning most of my matches, like having a 30-5 or 30-6 season, and then I went up to John's, and and then I started having success, in the off-season tournaments, which were even tougher, because these are kids who want to be there. Most of them, sometimes you get kids in season who don't really want to be there. They're kind of forced to be there. Every kid in the off season, for the most part, wants to be there and wants to get better. That's why they're there, right? So being at John's was huge. It makes the biggest difference. Just the partners, the level, coaching, and just the effort. John and Tatora are all in. This is all John does, and then Tatora comes after practice, and after work, and he runs almost every practice. So these guys, you're dealing with coaches who are all in. Unfortunately, most people can't be all in. You know what I mean? Because they have, their livelihood and things and family. This is all they do. John waits for, all day he's thinking about wrestling. He's thinking about how to get his guys better. And then when practice comes, he implements it. The guy is, more than anything, he's all in. That's the word I think of when I think of John and his staff.
Would you say that style that he had or the way he was going about things really rubbed off on you?
For coaching, definitely. I definitely, luckily I was able to have Tatora too. So, some John's John, he's a little crazy. So I was able to pick up some from Tatora and some from, I try to pick up the good from both of them. You know what I mean? But yeah, definitely. I realized that if I'm going to be a successful coach, at the highest level, I have to be all in like John was. You know what I mean? And one thing, John wants to make someone great. He's going to, and just because he's all in mentality. He expects the same thing out of you. You know what I mean? So he expects the same thing out of all his athletes, and I'm kind of the same way now. I expect the same effort I'm giving. John gives a full effort. He expects a full effort. Tatora gives a full effort. He expects a full effort. And I'm the same way as far as my coaching style. I expect a full effort from my athletes, but I give a full effort.
Right on. So tell me more about your high school career, because you said you really started to get to work following your sophomore year. How did things start going for you as your junior and your senior year?
So I ended up finishing. I lost to one person in the section. I ended up finishing 2-time all section. I never got to the state tournament. I ended up taking third in my senior year. I lost in the quarterfinals. Matchup I probably shouldn't have lost, and then I came back into third. And then that was the end. And then once it was over, I thought I was done. I didn't know I was going to start coaching. I was thinking about maybe fighting MMA a little bit. And then I got a call from Tatora, and he was like, "Hey, if you're not going away to school," because I was staying locally, I was doing like community college locally, and he's like, "I would like for you to come and coach at Horace Greeley." And then I guess John got wind of that, I was at Horace Greeley coaching, and he said, you know, he told Tori, he said, hey, I would like to have KD back. You know, if you get him back in the room, maybe we could get him coaching. And then that's how it all started as far as coaching. You know, I always helped out with youth. You know, when I was in high school, I always helped out. You know, if there was, you know, the youth coach needed an extra help or extra hand, because, you know, if I got there early and the youth were there and our practice didn't start till later, you know, because Sora would have to get there a little early sometimes, because he was our ride, by the way, mind you. You know, that guy was everything for me and Justin, because he literally drove us there every single day and drove us home every single day. And before that, we had to take the train, luckily, and it was not a fun commute.
Yeah.
So he brought us there, and sometimes you would have to go early for the youth practices. So, you know, we would we'd help out. You know, me and Justin, and it was good. It was a good experience.
So, you know, now you're getting into coaching. What was that first? What talk to me about the transition. You're going from being this competitor, wrestler, and everything to a whole different thing about coaching. I remember seeing a speech from Tom Ryan. This was 2009. He was the guest speaker at a brunch that they had right before Ohio State had dueled Hofstra, and he's talking about transitioning from going to from an athlete wrestling at Iowa to coaching. And he says, when you're an athlete, it's all about you, but when you're coaching, it's all about them. When you're a coach, it's all about them. Can you kind of talk to me a little bit about what that transition was like for you? And when I tell you stuff like that, do you relate to that at all?
Absolutely. Actually, it's funny you mentioned that. You know, when I was an athlete, I was just worried about my style and how I was going to get to my attacks, and I was only worried about what I did. You know, now I have to worry about what everyone does. You know, not everyone has the same attributes as the next guy. You know, not everyone's tall and lanky. Some guys are short and stocky. You know, so we have to build a style around every kid. I can't teach everyone my style. Not everyone's going to be shooting little singles and stuff like that, and that type of stuff. So I do agree completely. My game has grown so much since I started coaching. I've learned more in this 4 years of coaching than the whole time I was wrestling. You know, just more. I'm talking about actual technique and stuff, and learning how to, you know, the right things to say, and learning, you know, before matches and things like that, and just saying the right things, and coaching the right style for the kids. You know what I mean? For each kid, you know, you can't teach every kid your style. I see a lot of coaches come in and they teach every kid their style. It's like, this is not going to work for every kid. Maybe there's something within your style that's going to work for that individual, but you can't teach them a whole system around your style, because it's not going to work for every single kid. You know, you got to change it up. So I agree with that statement completely, because you go from it being all about you to now being all about the kids. But the difference with me was that I was young. You know what I mean? So I was 18. So I was, you know, in the beginning, I was more of a partner for the heavier guys, and you know, I was coaching a little bit. I was getting in there too, you know, but for the most part, I was more of a partner for the next couple big guys. And I helped out, but it was mostly, you know, in the beginning stage, it was mostly to, you know, to Tora and John, and, you know, I just, again, like I said, I was just more like a partner, more like a live partner for the bigger guys and drill partner for the bigger guys. And then as, you know, as time has gone, you know, I was more now, more technique and stuff.
But you said some interesting things there too about, you know, like having to focus on not teaching what's best for you, but looking at a guy's style and teaching what's best for them. I kind of find that with not just wrestling, but all sports across the board, some of the greatest coaches usually weren't the most successful athletes. I see it in wrestling, but I definitely see it a lot in other sports as well. It seems like that applies to you. Do you have like anything else on why you may think that is like, is it just because you're on the other side and you see it a little more? Or?
I think people who have a lot of success in the sport are normally, you know, and this is not true for everyone, but I think they have a kind of like a greedy mentality where, you know, they were only worried about themselves most of the time, you know, especially, you know, there's nothing wrong with, you know, when you're trying to be an NCAA champ, you have to be a little greedy for yourself. You know what I mean? You have to be a little, you know, greedy in the sense that you have to make sure you reach your goals, you know, and again, like I said, there's nothing wrong with that, but those guys don't transition well. They've always been the type of guys that's always about me, you know, so it's like, it's hard I don't think people make the transition into, okay, it's not about me anymore. I think a lot of coaches do it for themselves in their own ego. You know what I mean? It's like it doesn't, it's wrong. You know what I mean? Because it should be always about the kids once you're coaching, and it always will be. You know what I mean? If the kid wins a national title, Super 2 title or whatever title, it's not about me. It's about the kids. You know what I mean? And I don't think those guys, I think they have a hard time making it about the kids. I think that's why they don't become great coaches.
All right, right on. I like that answer. I like that answer a lot. So, again, I talked about you being a relatively young guy. From what I've definitely noticed in getting to know you the last, I want to say, year or so, is you've
Yep.
networked very well and made a lot of connections. I mentioned how maybe the overall fan base of wrestling might not know you, but again, like a lot of these top tier athletes and coaches definitely know who you are. What was the mentality for you to want to build these relationships? Because I've seen you with Tommy Gant, Mike Machiavelli. You got the NC State shirt on right now. You're working out with Penn State guys too. Like, what was the mindset for you to want to get out there and build these relationships? And exactly how did you do it?
Yeah, recently it's been the whole KD thing and the Let's Win thing. I think just really blown up. Like I was even out when I was at Super too. Like kids have, I really didn't know that well. We're coming up to me, KD, let's win, and they were like, they're dapping me up and stuff like that. And I was like, I was just unexpected. It was nice, you know what I mean? And I just think you should build your brand. You know what I mean? I think the more you build your brand, the more people reach out to you. And I think that's how I made some of these connections. It's because I built my brand, and a lot of people see me, working out with like a Mock or in the corner for like a guy like Mock or like helping out a guy like Roman because, during the shutdown. So really, Roman was a huge part in building my brand. I don't know if you know Roman Bravo Young is. He's a 130. Okay, yeah. So he's a 133 pounder at Penn State, All-American for anybody here that doesn't know. And, went out he told me to come out to Arizona once New York got shut down. And Arizona was awesome. Everything was open. Everything was fine. And then he got this all-star match with Jack Mueller. And, and I went out there and he really helped me build my brand. He was posting like, if you want to win, you got to hit up Coach KD. And he has such a big following, it really helped grow my brand more than, I think more than anything, and I think people seeing me working out with NC State guys and him, it was really huge. But I think the biggest thing was, for the Mueller match, he had no coach basically because he couldn't be at State College, and he took a match against a guy who was really good freestyle guy, U23 world team member. And he said, he's no ego, Roman. He's a guy with no ego. So I'm just a regular high school coach. And he said, hey, you think you can start coaching me for this match? And I said, yeah, why not? So we'd go in and we flew Justin Lopez out, and luckily we had another guy named Danny Vega and Jesse Ibarra. Danny Vega, the multiple-time Fargo champ, and he wrestles at South Dakota State now. He's a 25-pounder, and then Jesse Ibarra was the number one guy in high school in the country, and he wrestles for Iowa now. And I would have them rotate on him because he was so good. He was just he's it was unbelievable. And basically we would do a morning workout, like a morning drill, and then at night we would do like a technique and a live session. And his strength coach was awesome. I was picking up stuff from him and I was bringing it back to New York, some of the stuff, and his name is Bobby Jet. He owns Jet Performance Center, Training Center. It's awesome. And it was awesome learning from him. And that's where we practiced too. So I think after that, when he got interviewed and he said, hey, I just want to thank Coach KD. He was a huge part in my training, and he's just he's just giving me compliments on flow. I think that was huge for building my brand. I really do believe he was a huge part in building my brand.
Definitely, man. It's great to hear. So you're making moves, big time moves. Talk to me a little bit about your goals before we get into Empire and what they're more so about what they're about and everything. Your Empire is definitely one of the premier clubs in New York State. I would think the nation as well. But talk to me about your goals as a coach, whether it's high school, club coaching. We talk about you, getting yourself out there and being able to coach these more higher level, top tier athletes. Now, what are your goals as a coach?
Well, I think there's 14 Super 32 champs would be nice. Having every national champ everywhere would be nice. No, but seriously, just to help these kids who get into colleges they normally wouldn't get into, because not every kid's going to be, a Camacho or a PJ or, that type of level of kid. But if we could even get them into a college they normally wouldn't even get into through wrestling, then we achieved some success. Helping kids reach their goals is it's my goal. To try to help these guys get to where they want to be. That's my goal with the sport. Winning is awesome, and I do enjoy it. But not everyone's gonna get to this PJ level. So even if their goals are a little bit smaller, helping them get there, seeing them happy is good for me. That's good enough for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. But you mentioned a very nice name there, PJ Duke. I've seen a lot of great wrestlers come out of New York State. I was a young buck when Jesse Jansen won his fourth state title. Nobody had ever done that before him. So I got to see that at a young age. And I was, I think, fifth grade when Troy was the first one to win his fifth title. I was still in middle school when JP O'Connor won his fourth, and we got to see Kyle Dake a little bit, even though he was a four-time finalist, two-time champ. Nick Piccinini win his four. The name obviously Adam Buziello, but PJ Duke, man. When I watched PJ Duke, he even like off first glance at the state tournament, I think he was in eighth grade at the time. And I'm like, damn, this
PJ was his first state tournament. Are you talking about PJ?
PJ Duke, yeah.
Yeah, he's sorry, I wasn't sure if you were talking about one of those other guys who are also great. PJ's first state tournament was seventh grade.
Yeah, I'm aware. The first time I got a chance to see him when he was in eighth grade. I had heard about him as a seventh grader, but when I first got to really see him was in eighth grade. I was like, man, this kid is good. Like, definitely one of the great ones. Like, cause Yanni was Vito too, but Yanni was just like a phenom from a young age too. He would have won. He would have won that extra state title had he not dealt with the injury. But when I was watching PJ Duke, I'm definitely saying early on he's going to be one of the great ones. How did he come to you guys? How did you forge a relationship with him? And what have you seen from him? His development and where you expect him to go?
He first came. He was young, man. When he first came to the club, I was still wrestling. I might have been a sophomore. We might have went to the club at the same time. I might have been a sophomore, and he might have been a first grader. Maybe he was really, really young, and he's never wrestled before. And I think he did a little bit of like boxing or something, and or some type of martial art or something. And he was just aggressive. I remember like. I didn't pay too much attention to him, if I'm being honest with you. When I was in high school. But then after high school, he was still young. He was only like a fifth grader. And I remember him coming back, or fifth or sixth grade. I remember him coming back, and he hadn't lost in like 2 or 3 years. Like, he was crushing the youth scene. And I remember him coming back, and he was like, he said he had lost a match for the first time in like 2 to 3 years to I think a kid from Virginia. And he said to me, he's like, I needed that. I was like, oh wow. A fifth grader realized that he needed to lose. I go, why do you say that? He goes, because I need to improve. If I just keep winning like this, I'm not gonna improve. If I just keep dominating kids and pinning guys, I'm not gonna improve. And I was like, oh shoot, this kid is special. This kid is special. This is not normal for a kid to be able to think like this. And I was like, this is something I've never seen before. And I remember, because like I said before, like, I've always seen him around when I was in high school, and I've always seen him winning everything. But I was more focused on what I was doing, and in the high school level, with wrestling myself. And then once I realized he was, the kid was unbelievable, was after he was always unbelievable. But once I realized it was after after I graduated. I graduated and came back and started coaching. And then we invited him up to the high school practice as like a sixth grader, and he was being competitive with kids who are taking third in New York State. I mean, this kid's like an 80-pound or 85, 90-pound, like around that range, the 80 to 90-pound range. And he's competitive with the kid who took third in New York State at 106, and the kid who took top of fifth place in New York State at 99 pounds. He's competitive with those guys, and I'm like, oh shoot, this kid's really special. Like, we got a really special individual here. Like, he belongs here. He doesn't belong in youth practices anymore. Like, he was already beating up everyone, but seeing him being able to go with those high schoolers those kids are juniors and seniors. So it's like this is where he needs to be, and from then on, he stayed in high school practice.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. It really is. It's true too, because when you say he mentioned that, and that makes me think he's really ahead of his years there when when he talks about wanting to lose or not wanting to but having to lose because he needs to be able to improve from it. I see a lot of guys that they dominate at a young age, and they might have sometimes they might not even have like the skill level. They're just, I guess, a little more developed than the other guys their age, and they're just dominating and never really get that chance to learn or anything like that. And then when they finally do lose, they don't really have that same mentality of I needed that. It's more like I lost because of this or whatever. So when you say that, that's something too that you think about him and say this kid's gonna be real special.
Yeah, I mean that was unbelievable. I couldn't believe fifth grader, sixth grader time. I don't know how old. I don't remember exactly what year it was, but he's been around for so long. But saying something like that at such a young age was like, wow, that's this. He's way ahead of his age. You know what I mean? I have high schoolers who, when they lose, they're making excuses, and I have this guy telling me that he needs it to improve. And it's a huge difference. And for a coach, I prefer to hear that. You know what I mean? Of course, over any excuse. I prefer to hear I need to get better. There's no excuse. I need to get better. This is going to help me get better. That's what I want to hear.
100%, 100%. So for you guys as a staff, just having a guy like him around, what are some of the things that you guys do with him to continue that improvement and make sure that he's the best he can be on and off the mat?
Well, so I personally, I take him privately. I take him privately, and I have him in a group of, I have him consistently. I have him, a kid named Matty Lopes, who's like ranked number 4 in the country right now, I'm pretty sure, and another kid named from Long Island who drives up 3 or 4 times a week. His name is Max Gallagher.
Yeah, I know Matt.
Yeah,
Well, his dad was actually my coach.
Yep. So so Max comes up too, and they're all around the same weight, and they're all great. And Max was, I think he just got posted number 1 in his class, pound for pound.
Yep.
So, I have a special group, and I, kind of bring in kids for PJ and for Maddie, and these kids help them grow too, So, at a certain level they exceed, So I try to bring them down to North Carolina. Maybe he'll wrestle. He'll wrestle Camacho. Camacho will move around with him. Some of the other college guys will move around with him. And then, I bring him to Penn State. Roman will move around with him. And, Roman will show him some stuff. Roman will come over here and train with us for, a week or so. And he'll move around with those guys, the Matty Lopes and the PJs. And, so we have to travel a little bit too for him now because he's at such a high level. We do a little bit of traveling. And like even we had a planned trip, obviously COVID, we decided not to do it, but because it was spiking a little bit in Arizona, we had a planned trip to go to Arizona with Roman and just train with him for a week, and just, maybe, 10 days and just get better, you know what I mean? And just improve. So yeah, I do a little bit of traveling myself with him to get him, he's at such a level where you need to travel a little bit for him. If you want to keep him at such a high level, you need to travel and get him different looks.
Yeah, it goes back to you talking about building that brand. You build that brand, get it out there more, and it even gets to benefit your athletes. Like you're telling me now, a kid like that getting a chance to compete with an All-American at the best college in the country right now for wrestling. So yeah, definitely to you.
Well, whenever we go down there, like whenever we go to North Carolina, or even if I go to North Carolina, or when I train Roman, at someone's garage, if I bring him to train at someone's garage, or, even with Camacho at his garage or something like that, because obviously we're not allowed in the room. He's still, with all the COVID stuff, I don't think we'd be allowed in the room anyway, because he's obviously going to be a recruit coming up soon, active recruit at least. I don't think he's a recruit yet because he's in 8th grade, but as soon as he hits 9th grade, then he's a active recruit, and you can't just come in the room, I guess.
Right.
The rules.
Right. You brought up Camacho too. I know that that's a guy that you had the chance to work with before he ended up at NC State. He had a very good redshirt year. I got the chance to watch him a bit
Yeah,
his redshirt year, and then that first year he was in there starting. I think he kind of dealt with a little bit of weight issues at 125. Probably more so at him just getting adjusted to making that on a consistent basis. But he didn't have the greatest second year in college. He really turned it on at the ACC tournament. It was real painful for me as a fan to not be able to see what he was going to do at the national championships with it being canceled due to COVID. What just from you knowing him and just watching him that whole season, what do you feel like changed for him as the season went on? Because he got a huge win in the ACC finals.
yeah. Again, here comes Jack Mueller comes up a lot here, I guess. With Roman wrestling him and Camacho wrestling him. I just think he changed a couple things just with his lifestyle and mentality, and things are different. You go to your red shirt. There's no pressure on you to win for the team. You compete. 1 week, then you don't compete the next week, and then you compete 2 weeks later. It's not as much pressure where you have to compete. Weekend after weekend. You know what I mean? Because like the Division One season, obviously this year is different, but most years it's a brutally long season. So I think you need to get accustomed to it. You know what I mean? And not being able, not you can't compete as much as a red shirt. I would say, don't quote me on it, but I don't think you can. I think just with traveling and it gets expensive. So I think just adjusting to the Division One because you're a Division One wrestler when you're red shirt, but you're not fully in because you're not with the team and you're not competing every day, every weekend or every other day in a duel or something like that. So I think he just had to change his lifestyle and his mentality, and I think obviously you saw what happened at ACC's Jack Mueller, and then I think I'm almost positive he won. I am positive actually he won most outstanding wrestler in the ACC for the tournament. And just some changes even within the season, could make the biggest difference, in someone's wrestling. Just a couple if you change a couple things. Obviously Camacho changed a couple things, and look what happened to him. He won ACCs, and like you, I was very sad to hear he couldn't compete at the NCAA's. But now even for this is a little bit off topic, but now they just canceled the season. The championships, the New York championships
Yeah.
for the high school. So like a guy like PJ, because I remember you're naming guys. And just to go back to PJ real quick, was one of his goals was to be a six-time New York State champion.
The
And
first.
now that's completely the first ever. Yeah, he would have been the first ever one, and really, he had to go out there and compete. But I thought I really, I was confident he could do it. And he won his first one pretty easily. I think he tech and pinned everyone in his bracket. And I thought he was going to win again this year. And it's unfortunately, the NYPHSSA couldn't find a way to make it happen for these kids. These kids train all year for the opportunity to win a state title, and hopefully get recruited. And they took it away, and it's sad because a kid like PJ, is wanted to win 16 New York State titles, and it was taken away from him, uncontrollably. He couldn't, it was out of his hands. It's not like he lost in the finals. Just the state took it away from him.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. I got a few more questions I want to ask. I'm glad
Yeah.
you brought all of that up too. So with the state tournament being canceled, I think the season they said the season is postponed, but the state tournament itself is canceled. Correct?
Yeah, but the season is not. We're talking New York State here. It's not like
Yeah.
you go to PA. You have someone in their conference or in the section. You'll have 2 or 3 ranked guys sometimes. In the WPIAL they have 2 ranked guys in the same bracket, and then those guys end up facing each other in the state finals. We're talking Section 1 here. That's not as tough. What I mean? It's not nearly as tough. So at that point, is it worth competing? I mean? It's what is it worth? It's not worth competing. Honestly, if they asked me, should they compete? I don't know if I would say yes. I would say, maybe, because then once they register for the season, they can't go and do off-season tournaments. So if a good tournament pops up where they could face, 2 or 3 tough PA kids or wherever kids from wherever, they wouldn't be able. They would lose that opportunity. And for what? For a guy like PJ to show up to a duel and a guy, bump up weight class and then him collect the forfeit in reality, I mean, why would what's the benefit? What's the benefit in doing a season? That's where I'm at. You know what I mean? Especially with the no state tournaments. I don't understand it. I don't understand why. I think you're going to see a lot of the top dogs not compete.
Well, for you as a coach, again, it's a tough situation. We're in a global pandemic right now. It's not easy on anyone. For you as a coach, like what do you say to these guys?
I tell them control the things that they can control. You know, it's like you know, I try not to get upset about things I can't control. You know what I mean? So I tell them control the things you can control. You know, so like, you know, PJ lost an opportunity to be a six-time state champion. That's fine. Let's go win Super 32. You know, it sucks. Obviously, it's not fine. I know it probably does bother him, but let's go win Super 32 now. Let's go win Fargo. Let's go make a world team. Let's go win a world championship. Like let's go train for the next big thing. You know, it sucks. It's hard to have that conversation with someone who just lost an opportunity for one of his goals. You know what I mean? And it's something that's going to go down in record books. You know, people think of Troy Nickerson because he was the first. I mean, it's his first. He's not the only, I don't think, anymore. But
He's not the only, but he was the first ever. It had never been done before.
Five-time state champion. And not only that, PJ could have been the first six-time undefeated state champion. You know what I mean? So he was 50-0 last season, I'm pretty sure. And who knows what he could have done this season if it wasn't taken away from him. You know, so again, like I said, like control things you can control. You know, you can't get mad at things you can't control. You know, so control the controllable.
But I was listening to a Flow Radio Live the other day. I saw that because Ben Askren, he's retired. Obviously, the accolades stack up so high with him as a wrestler between his national titles and everything. Made the Olympics, and he went on to have a pretty nice MMA career. Retired now, but while he works for Flow, he's still doing some coaching as well. So I did see that he's taking guys out to different events that they can compete in as well. Is that something that you guys are doing over at Empire or looking to get into?
Yeah. No, we still go. I mean, John has been taking the guys to events and stuff like that. You know, we're still going to events. I mean, they were at Super 32. You know, we're going to duels, and you know, whenever there's an event that pops up, you know, we normally sign up for. Unfortunately, now it's not like it used to be, where you know you could sign up for an event and you were a sure thing that's going to happen. You know what I mean? Now, almost like every tournament, you have to almost think it's going to get canceled. So you know, yeah, but we're still going to events. Nothing changes. You know, we're still training to get better. You know, although we're not training for a state title anymore. We're still training to get better at wrestling.
100%. I want to get back to the college season coming up. We were talking about Jacob Camacho because I know it's someone that you're linked to pretty well. The schedules did come out, and I actually did put a piece out on that. Shameless plug. If you guys should go check that.
Yeah.
But
I'm gonna check it out myself.
Definitely appreciate that. The college season the schedules for a couple of teams came out. Obviously, not every team has put out their schedule yet. But we will have college wrestling in the new year. Should everything go according to plan. NC State did put their schedule out. So while you know a guy like Jacob Camacho is not going to get the chance to see all of the best 125 pounders in the country, he is going to get a chance to see a few, especially in the ACC. The ACC is pretty deep at 125. He's going to get the chance to wrestle UVA. They got that big in-state rivalry with UNC and Joey Melendez. I know Joey Melendez isn't exactly at the tier that Camacho is right now, but no slouch nonetheless. And then of course when he gets to Virginia Tech, he's going to wrestle a guy like Sam Latona, who's a top 15 guy. What are you expecting from Jacob Camacho in this limited season?
They posted something. I don't know how true it is, and maybe you could give me. But are they having an ACC champion? They said something about. They put the ACC championships in there as well as the NCAA championships. Are they planning to have that?
Yeah, they will have. From what I have, no team in the Big Ten has released a schedule yet. I only saw Iowa State and North Dakota State were the only two teams in the Big 12. Hofstra was the only team in the EIWA. A couple SoCon teams released their schedule, and then in the ACC it was NC State and Virginia Tech. So all those teams in these conferences, their conference championships will be at the end of February, and then they're going to have a couple weeks off before the NCAA tournament takes place.
Okay, yeah. So going back to your question, I think Camacho's capable of winning an NCAA title. I think if he's in the right mindset and he's firing off on all cylinders, I think he's a type of kid he could win NCAAs. I mean he's unbelievable. He's so good at wrestling. I mean he doesn't concede any position. He just wrestles. I mean he's tough. He doesn't look like your regular wrestler. You know what I mean? When you look at him now, he's a little bit more jacked up from what he used to look like, or even from a year ago when he had all the extra chubbiness. But yeah, I think I believe in Camacho. You know what I mean? I think he's capable of winning an NCAA title. I think you know if he believes, he can get it done. He's training hard. I mean, he's going out there and taking down guys like Seth Gross and beating guys like Sean Russell who have graduated and are all Americans. I think that should give him a little bit more confidence. And then after doing what he did to Jack Mueller, for the most part, I think he's kind of separated himself from guys in the ACCs. Obviously, San Antonio is a tough opponent. I really want to watch that match. I look forward to that match. But I think Camacho will get it done. I think Camacho will be a four-time ACC champ and hopefully a four-time NCAA champ. With this extra year.
Right, right. But I mean, I see you got a lot of confidence in him, saying you could think he can win a national title because he didn't just Jack Mueller was an NCAA finalist. He didn't just beat Jack Mueller. He had a convincing win over Jack Mueller in the ACC finals. But obviously, the 125-pound weight class isn't just Jack Mueller. There's a guy from Iowa who's won a couple national titles as well. So when you say
Pretty
that,
good.
how do you right?
So yeah, no, I no doubt about it. He's got a tall task ahead of him. There's a couple of tall tasks. You can't forget guys like Vito and I don't know what
I don't think you're
Suriano.
gonna get to see Vito this year
Oh
because
yeah, no, this
no
year, yeah.
Ivy.
Sorry, no Ivy Leagues, yeah. But I imagine the guy like they're talking about Suriano being back, and with the whole cluster at Rutgers at 125, 133, and 141. I imagine he's gonna be at 125, but I think Camacho's right. He could be right there with those guys. You know what I mean? And obviously, it just takes one good tournament. You know what I mean? And you're an NCAA champion. And like you said, what he did to Jack Mueller, I think he beat him 11-4 or something like that. But it's pretty bad. I mean, the year before, what did Spencer Lee beat him 5-0? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Obviously, that's not saying he's going to go out there and beat Spencer Lee. But let's put him in that conversation. I'm ready to put him in that conversation. Maybe I'm crazy, but I'm ready to put him in there. If not, you'll see him on the podium for sure, high up on that podium.
Well, you guys heard it here on the rundown first. Khaled, aka Coach KD, said it first. Jacob Camacho win a national.
I'm all in on Camacho. You won't hear any different from me.
Definitely, man. I love the attitude. I really do love it. So tell me more about Empire and what you guys do. So somebody obviously PJ Duke. We talked about Jacob Camacho. You got some other young guys. A guy from my neck of the woods, Max Gallagher. What are the type of guys you get in there? What's more the philosophy you guys are going and how have things been going for you guys with COVID going on and just getting over that hump?
Well, obviously COVID made things harder. People not wanting to come to the practice, and even when things were opened back up, it didn't make anything easier. You know what I mean? With that being said, just people are when they don't have a season to look forward to, they're not as driven to come and train, which I don't think is good. I think you gotta just train to get better, even when obviously in this time. I kind of understand for the seniors, but if you plan on having a college career, I think you should still come and get better. But yeah, COVID has not been good to us, just like it hasn't been good to any other club but we have, not to mention, John's been open for over 20 years, I believe, and he's had, a decent amount of All-Americans. I don't know all the D3 All-Americans, but I know Division I, he had, he had Steven Rodriguez, who wrestled for Illinois. He had Brian Rebuto. Steven was a one-time. Brian Rebuto was a three-time All-American. Yusuf Hamida was a two-time All-American. Kevin Jack was a three-time All-American. Dave Camacho All-American last year, COVID All-American, and Joe Mazurko from Cornell. He was from back in the day. I think he was one of John's first students. He was a two-time All-American. John produces. A lot of people produce great high school athletes, and John makes sure you're ready for college. You know what I mean? John, make sure you're fully prepared to deal with any college coach and any college workout, and that's why I think his guys get the success they get. I think that's why the Empire guys get the success they get. You know what I mean? Because personally, I believe if you could deal with John, you could deal with any Division I coach. That's my philosophy, and I think that's why they do well. Because I think a lot of kids, once they get to school, they can't deal with their coach. You know what I mean? They can't deal with the workouts, and you know, you know, John is relentless. You know, John, you know, and Tora does a good job, and they do a good job of mixing. You know, for the better of the kids. You know, and I think that's why they get the success they get. And you know, there's a lot of good kids in the club, and there's a lot of good college kids still out there. You know, besides Camacho, you know, there's plenty of good college kids wrestling right now. So, you know, we'll get to see them a little bit more. Obviously, some of them were in the Ivy, and the Ivy got canceled. So, we may not get to see them this year, but you will see them out there. You know.
For sure, for sure. You mentioned some elite names there too, man. You obviously Yusuf Hamida. I got to see him win a state title. I saw Steven Rodriguez compete in the state tournament at 135 pounds his senior year. He was an All-American at 165 pounds. He wrestled 2 years at 141 and then ballooned up to 165 and looked just as good. That is some elite company that you're mentioning that from that club. Arthur Budo, the national finalist, multiple-time All-American, multiple-time state champ himself. I remember when the first time I saw Brian Robudo wrestles 2009 state finals, he beat Damon McQueen from Huntington, and I just remember how in awe I was because I had been watching McQueen for so many years, and that was my introduction to Robudo. And obviously I know that they got to work out, the Robudo brothers worked out with Max Askren as well. But that is an elite group of guys that you mentioned just now.
Yeah, they're unbelievable, and I think, you know, when you mentioned why the club gets the success it is, and why, you know, if you're going to base off college results, you know, it's probably one of the, you know, in high school results too. Every year, you know, you have national, you know, you have guys do well at the nationals and everything else. But I think the alumni play a huge part. You know, I think, you know, they come back, and, you know, even during the winter breaks or in the Thanksgiving break and in the summertime when they get their 2 or 3 weeks off, they're coming back, and they're coming in the room, and they're helping the next guy, you know, because when they were in high school, you know, the older guys were doing the same for them, you know, and I think that plays a huge part into the club. And, you know, you gain knowledge from, you know, we have, I don't know, 24 Division I guys wrestling right now. So when you get, and then some of them at the same school, but most of them, you know, most of them are split up. And so when you get them all coming back, you're getting knowledge from different coaches, you know what I mean? Because you're getting to learn what they're getting taught, you know, from different coaches. And, you know, you start to pick up stuff, and you like it, you pick it up. It's not, you know, you move on, but you get to learn a lot of different, you know, technique and stuff like that. And, you know, you maybe even some mentality, you know, you get these older kids to talk to them about maybe some of the mistakes they made in high school. And, you know, and it's awesome. And I think it makes the club a lot better. I think the club's a lot better for it since those guys come back and help out.
It's definitely true. It's 100% true. I know college guys at the Division I level that still do it now. Even for myself in high school, the Brentwood program, we were always a very tight knit group. So we used to have guys coming down constantly when they were on break, or even if they were just kind of doing other things in life. Well, when they were in town, they were always coming down. I got a chance to interview Silas Murray, who's actually right now, he's the program director for Beat the Streets Providence. He was one of those guys for us. My big bro, Joshua Marsh, is one of those guys as well. So definitely that's a huge part in developing success for programs and clubs alike.
Yeah, for sure. I think like I said, I think it's played a huge role in our success in the club. And you know, and I think as long as that keeps happening, you know, I obviously it's not the main thing, but I think it definitely helps. You know what I mean? Having college guys come back and give knowledge and even talk mentality. You know, I think it's huge for our program.
Right on. Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit of wrestling with you before we get out of here. So Flo's got this 150-pound bracket they put together. I got a chance to see it. I had to look it up again because I know Joey McKenna's out, so they had to reshuffle it, get somebody else in there. So they got Bajrang Punya. I got his Bajrang Punya.
Right.
Remember watching. Well, I got to watch him a couple of times, but definitely seeing Yanni beat him at Beat the Streets was big.
Yeah, I was there for that.
Pat Lugo first round. Got Anthony Ashnault against Evan Henderson in the first round on that top side. Then on the bottom side, it's that dude Jo Jordan Oliver against Alec Pantaleo, and Bryce Meredith up against James Green. So, what are you seeing here? I think for me personally, I think Punia is definitely gonna be in a match for sure, but I take him to get out of there. And I think Schnaulty B. Mobbin's gonna have some say in there as well. I think I guess you could call that a mild upset against Evan Henderson.
I think Evan Henderson has been looking great lately. I think, like you said, I agree with the guy moving on to the semifinals. I actually disagree with the other one though. I think Henderson's looked phenomenal as of late. Ever since I think he moved up to the Spartan RTC as of recent, and he looks great. He used to give up takedowns, and now he's not giving up takedowns anymore. And he's just been looking great lately. I got him over Anthony Ashnault.
He's definitely. I can't even call him a sleeper because you're 100% right on that. He's looked great for a while now. I remember watching him over at the NYAC. I think he split with Joey McKenna over there, but I know the last match he got a win over Joey McKenna. He was a very good college wrestler over at UNC. Very good.
Yeah, he was tough.
All-American, but he's definitely jumped levels since going on to the international side. But I think Anthony Ashnault. Obviously, the storied career he's had, 4-time Jersey State champion, 4-time All-American for Rutgers, national champion for Rutgers. Him and Soriano being the first two to ever do it in program history. He's no slouch. I just think he's gonna, and I believe he's coming. Might be his first tournament back since injury. But I just think he's gonna have something to show. And he's a guy that's always been pretty scrappy and kind of get a little bit of the unexpected from him. I just think I'm seeing that from him.
Yeah, I think Evan Henderson's been making huge jumps. I'm taking him. I think Anthony Ashnault's really good, obviously, and but I think Evan Henderson's been making some huge jumps. So I'm sticking to my guns. I'm going Henderson.
I respect it. Like I said, you're not wrong in anything that you said. The jumps that he's made on the international scene have been amazing. He might have wrestled Punia as well, I think, or I could be wrong on that, but almost just
maybe. I don't remember, but maybe. Yeah,
I had a close match with him. I don't think I'm wrong on that. But let's get to that bottom side with Jordan Oliver against Alec Pantaleo. I think Oliver is going to be in a match. Pantaleo's he's always been very hard to score on. Jo is definitely going to be firing off attacks, and I'm going to take him to move on. But I mean, he's definitely going to be in a match there. And then Meredith and James Green. Meredith, very, very, very good college career. He's been tough on the international scene, but not enough said there. No disrespect to him.
Yeah, I got James Green too. I got James Green, and I got Jo, man. Pantaleo's tough. You saw his match with Zane Rutherford was super tight, and but I got Jo, man. I mean, he barely what he lose to Jason Off 1-0 or on Criteria. I mean, to be able to stick with that guy and bumping up to do so, I got Jo. I think it's going to be tough for me to pick between James Green and Jo next round, but I got Jo over Pantaleo.
Agreed. But let's do it. Because I think on that side, they got a chance to wrestle each other a couple years ago at the NYAC, and that's when Jo actually bumped up to wrestle James Green there. I definitely think Oliver.
Do you remember the score of that?
Do I remember the score? No, I think he didn't get handled, but it was kind of a controlled win by James Green there. This was a couple years ago. I want to say this was 2018.
Yeah, I think that, man. I think Jo is different, man. I think it's different now. I think working with Kenny Monday. I think he's Kenny Monday's obviously a special coach, and he's him and especially hearing from your brother and just all the good things about Kenny and Jo and just seeing the chemistry they have. And I think man, Jo looks good. Jo looks really good. And I think Man, that's a tough one. James Green and JL. Like, who would I pick? Shoot. I mean, man, I think I'll go JL. I think I'll go JL.
I'm going Jo too, just off the fact that it's a rematch, and I think Jo really wants that match a lot. But I want to see how James Green is also going to be able to keep up with him, because this isn't 154 pounds, which James Green is used to wrestling over at 70 kilos. This is 150. So I want to see, and I know he did wrestle a little lighter at the RTC Cup. But, I want to see what he's like at this lighter weight on the scale.
Yep.
A guy like Jordan Oliver, who's all up in your face, constantly moving. And again, what you mentioned about him being over at UNC now with Kenny Monday is very true. He's been in some great spots, when he was at Oklahoma State, and then, the time he spent at Sunkist, Arizona State with Zeke Jones. Then
he's got a lot of knowledge.
Even when he was up at Cornell training with Corey Cooperman and those guys. So I think right now he's definitely in a sync, kind of being back with that Oklahoma State crew. Even having Coleman Scott over there, who was Jordan was actually his training partner for the Olympics in 2012. So.
Okay.
So, I think the combination of all that, and just because my brother's been sending me some videos and stuff too, so I've gotten a chance to see how he looks training and everything. I think he's in a different mindset right now, and I think he's really going to show the world that come time for this.
Do you know if it's the same day weigh-ins?
No, I don't.
Okay, yeah, that plays a huge factor too, because I think the weight cut
is
worse, obviously, for James Green, and so same day weigh-ins might that might change a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That might change some things, because James Green has, like you said, that weight cut is not easy. He's originally wrestling at 154, and now he's going down to 65 kilograms. I'm taking JO. Yeah, I'm sticking to that, and I'm taking JO, and I think the weight cut and everything else, and JO's looked good as a recent. But now we got two different matches here in the semifinals. With I have Bajrang versus Henderson, and you have Bajrang versus Anthony Ashnall. So let's hear from you first. Who you got making it to the finals?
Well, I would take Bajrang over Ashnall, but I'll even go on your end if he's taking Henderson. I like the style. I like the style there. So I think that would be a lot closer too. But I think I would take Bajrang regardless of who he ends up having to wrestle. He's a fun guy to watch.
He is. Even the Yanni match was super fun to watch. Yeah, I got Bajrang too making the finals. I think Evan Henderson gives him a lot better of a match than people think. But and I think Evan Henderson has the potential to beat him. I think Evan Henderson has the potential to make the finals. But I'm taking Bajrang versus Jordan Oliver in the finals. That's my final thing. That's my final prediction. I think you're there too now. Now we're there in the same finals.
Yeah. I agree with you on the Henderson thing. Like I said, that dude he's jumped major levels since going on to the international scene.
Even from the senior nationals to the match with Echemendia, like he made such huge jumps.
He's been amazing every time. Like Joey McKenna's got such a great forte for freestyle wrestling, and seeing how he was able to beat Joey McKenna when they wrestled was a bit of an eye-opener for me too, that when I got to see that. But he, again, just continuously watch him on the international scene, I just have noticed a lot of he's jumped levels there.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
We got Bajrang versus Jordan Oliver, though. I know for a fact these two actually wrestled overseas at a tournament. It was closer than it may have appeared to some. And again, a rematch. I like Jordan. I like Jordan Oliver. I think he's motivated. I think he's gonna get ready to prove to a lot of people where he's at. He should have made a world team a couple years ago. He got popped for some it was a PED. He said it was riddling. So unfortunately, he never got the chance to really showcase his skills at that world championship. But I feel like he just, like I said earlier, with everything that I've gotten to see from his training and stuff like that, and just knowing how motivated of a guy he is, I think he's gonna do damage, and I think he's gonna reverse two scores in the same tournament, get redemption against Green, and then get redemption against Bajrang in the finals.
Man, I like I said before, that Bajrang's awesome. But I'm liking what's going on with JL as of lately. I like it. I'm going JL. Going JL. Yeah. Maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, he's a little bit more inconsistent. It might have been harder to pick him, but now, man, he seems to be on another level. I mean, like just the Nolf match, Nolf is unbelievable. You know what I mean? He's really special talent. Not only that, he's a special talent. He's at a weight class bigger than Jo is. So, for him to go and even make it competitive, for me, Tommy Gant was, I was actually with Tommy Gant when the match happened. And he's like, watch this. This is going to be competitive. I said, you're crazy. Like, this guy, not only is he bumping up, he's facing a guy who's pretty good. It's not like he's bumping up and facing a bum. He's facing Jason Nolf. I said, you're crazy. Jason's going to beat him by 4 or 5 points. It's not going to be that competitive. And then once the match was over, he was like, I told you that, he's like, that boy JL was good. And I was like, I was watching. He's good. He's good.
He's a monster, man.
I thought more of him after a loss, than I did before, so it's crazy as that sounds. But I got him taking the $50,000.
Yeah.
That's my final prediction. JL $50K for the win.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree with you. I think we're in store for a great wrestling weekend, and I think we're both on the same page here. He's a monster, man. I was instantly a fan of his from the time I got to see him. When he was wrestling over at Easton.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great program too.
100%, man. Coach KD, Khaled, I want to thank you again for coming on, man. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate this, and I look forward to sharing this with all my friends and family. So thank you again for having me, and I look forward to some of your shows in the upcoming.
Definitely. If you like the other sports too, we definitely got some stuff to talk. So come check us out.
For sure. I do love some other sports. I'm a big football fan and stuff, so I will definitely.
I don't know if you like those two behind.
Yeah. I'm all right. I'm more of his brother's actually my favorite player.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm more of a Peyton Manning guy. I'm more of an 18, not number 10. But
I understand that.
He's Eli did some special things too, obviously.
Yeah. Definitely understand that. That's understandable. But again, thanks for coming on, man. It's Coach KD. It's Rich. We will see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in.